I think it's safe to say that most of us are familiar with the story of the wise men. A group of men, magi from somewhere east of Israel, traveled to visit the newborn Jesus. They believed, based on their study of the sky and ancient prophecies, that this small child, born in Israel, would be born the king of the Jews. They also believe that he was worthy of worship. In seeking him, they come to a man whose name is Herod, who is, at least by title, a king himself, a puppet king set on the throne by the Roman government. Herod's own wise guys, the chief priests and scribes of the Israelite people, confirmed that the prophets had spoken of a Messiah who would be born in Bethlehem. And this is where the narrative of the gospel of the kingdom, at least as the New Testament is concerned, faces its first conflict. Jesus, who has just been born the rightful king, the divine son who would sit on a throne, is threatened by Herod, not directly, but with a sweeping order of death for all male children who would potentially be this child. And this is what Matthew chapter 2 says. Now when they had departed, behold, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream, and said, Rise, take the child and his mother, flee to Egypt, and remain there until I tell you. For Herod is about to search for the child, to destroy him. And he rose and took the child and his mother by night, and departed to Egypt, and remained there until the death of Herod. Now this was to fulfill what the prophet had spoken. Out of Egypt I called my son. Then Herod, when he saw that he had been tricked by the wise men, became furious, and he sent and killed all the male children in Bethlehem, in all that region, who were 2 years old or under, according to the time that he had ascertained from the wise men. In so many ways, this story tells us very clearly what is at stake in the story of the gospel of the kingdom. God has a plan, and even in the face of confirmation of that plan, the selfishness of the human king wants only the power he already has. Let's be clear, the gospel of the kingdom is good news for everyone. Remember that in part 2 of this series, we talked about this king saving his people from their sins. That comes from Matthew chapter 1. The sin of humanity is the darkness that encroaches on the heart and cuts us off from the closeness of our true king. It's the thing that brings about death. But in the mind of a worldly ruler, freedom and life for all of humanity at the cost of his own throne is simply not worth it. God's kingdom is a kingdom for all people. By for, I mean that it is a kingdom that seeks the greatest good for every one of its citizens. Worldly kingdoms, even at their best, often skew towards the greatest good for a select few. And at their worst, they seek the greatest good only for the one who sits on the throne. The kingdom of heaven values humanity to such an extent that the king would give his own life. The kings of this world and the kingdoms of this world value power so highly that they will take the lives of others to keep it. I love you, and today I pray that you would offer your allegiance to the King who places your life and your salvation above his own security and comfort.